Hey buddies, here I am giving you my final thoughts on Bioshock Infinite. I wanted to keep up with doing these first impressions video. This is a last impressions, but I'm going to try to keep doing these, especially as we defeat games. Defeat. Are we really in that era still? Can you beat a game? It's not really, you don't beat games anymore, you complete them. Especially Bioshock Infinite, it was kind of a cakewalk all the way through. Why am I looking at the mic? I always do this whenever I haven't done these in a while. It was like a cakewalk all the way through on easy mode, and then even on normal mode after a while. It's not the most difficult game in the world, especially even if you do die, you're going to be regenerated. But that made it perfect for the show because I die often, and I don't want to be stuck with a checkpoint that goes back too far. But that's not anything to do with the Game of the Year. The Game of the Year is about its story, and that is what Bioshock Infinite has, is a beautiful cinematic experience all the way through. I'm going to try to keep spoilers towards the end of this. I'm just going to talk about it on a surface level right here. See, I'm sweating right now. As you can tell, the skylight's open back there. It is summer here, and the studio gets hot really early in the day. I'm going to have to think about, I don't know, this wasn't meant to be said here, but maybe bumping the show even earlier in the mornings, because man, it gets hot. And we have LED lights now. Anyways, that's besides the point. I'll think about that later. So Bioshock Infinite, awesome story, great gameplay. Only nitpicks you heard throughout the playthrough was, and I've been saying this about a lot of games now, Bioshock's not the only one in this camp. I want more crowds, bigger crowds, especially in areas where it feels as though there should be one, or that the story requires one. There were parts in Bioshock Infinite in which you even hear a large crowd cheering or gasping or going, no, or going, yeah, yeah, or take down the whatever, the Vox Populi at one point, especially as an angry mob outside doors of the police station or something like that. You go outside and there was literally 4 guys, maybe 6, but it sounded like a mob outside, like trying to beat down the door. This is just, I don't feel as though Bioshock Infinite creators challenge themselves really technically. It's a safe game to play. It probably brings development costs way down to do this, but it feels as though it was a game made with the standards that we have set for games 5 years ago, maybe at the beginning of this generation. It still looked beautiful, and that's thanks to an amazing art style and cinematic direction. Though on that point, this is about nitpicks because it's the most... Let me get this out of the way right now. I'm nitpicking because I loved it. I just realized that. I've front-loaded this with nitpicks. I want to get that out of the way. It's one of my favorite games of this generation, and I'm just nitpicking because there's always room for improvement. Now shut the fuck up. The skybox was mirrored, which I found really, that's another corner that I don't expect to be cut in such an amazing game like this, like such a AAA. It's going to be a defining game of this generation, and yet it has a mirrored skybox for some reason. And then I think that's mainly it. It could use just a little more polish, I think, in that turn, or just could have pushed themselves a little bit further technically. Not a lot. Thank goodness they didn't skip on the facial animations very much. Everybody, except for everybody but Elizabeth, right? I mean, I don't know about other main characters, how well they were done. The scientist, the Lutus, she doesn't really have much of a personality, enough of one, rather, not an expressive personality, so you don't really expect her to make like crazy facial animations, so they get away there. I'm trying to remember the other characters, whether they had made proper facial animations or not, but Elizabeth was great, and that's what's really important, is that when she talked, it seemed quite realistic. Not the best I've ever seen, but very good. And Elizabeth was the key to it all. She was lovable all the way through. Didn't feel like a true escort mission in any sense. It felt as though we were the ones that were being escorted. Like, it was more of a companionship mission, that we were both in it together, and that was great. That was key to any game. I think that a lot of people, when the first trailers came out, there were a lot of people just being like, okay, yeah, it looks awesome, but is this not an escort mission? And they got rid of any fears that one might have. They dispelled those fears quite early in the game. You realize that you're not going to have to worry about this being tedious in any way. Now, I'm going to get on to real spoilers here with the story. One of the things that I think is really funny about the way people talked about this was that I read things saying that you basically need a quantum physics, a very good understanding of quantum physics in order to understand the ending. Don't worry if you don't understand it. It's really hard. It's not hard. As a science fiction nerd, quantum physics have always been, and always probably will be for quite a long time, the way of using it's science fiction's magic. It's a boon to science fiction because if they want magic in their universe, they use quantum physics. And the quantum physics, the multiverse theories that they use here to make it all work are very surface and very superficial and barely even really being seriously looked at right now. It's just something that if quantum theory works, which they still have to prove, multiverses technically also have to work according to the theory. But the theory doesn't revolve around multiverses, except for quantum particles, which they say react with... quantum particles kind of move and do things that make no sense for the stimuli they're getting on this side. So one of the theories is that they're being affected by other dimensions that we can't see. And that's why the multi-dimension theory is also a part of quantum physics. It's all very cool if you watch some PBS shit. I understand barely any of it, but I understand how it's used often in science fiction, and it makes complete sense that there would be multiple universes, time travel-ish things, kind of. They didn't really do that, I guess, but technically you can also time travel with it because there are going to be multiverses that are the exact same as yours that you can travel, that are just further back or something, like they took longer to get to that point or something like that. So their time travel kind of exists too. They didn't really do that, but there's some hokey things in it. It's just it throws in quantum mechanics like magic. It doesn't go very far beyond that, and in fact it goes pretty far in the magic direction, like Elizabeth getting her finger cut off and half of her being in another dimension. Not half of her, a little bit of her, giving her those powers because, and I have to thank somebody for sending me the quote that really explains it. And this is why Bioshock Infinite would be amazing to play through again, because the first time you hear the Lutus, scientist Rosalind, make that vox that says, seems the universe doesn't like its peas being mixed with its porridge, that Elizabeth doesn't have the powers because of what she is, but what she isn't. And she's referring to the finger. Because she isn't her full self, and the universe doesn't like its peas mixed with its porridge, meaning it doesn't like that she was separated into two different dimensions, and it's going to give her those powers because it wants them to come back together. Well, first of all, that finger's going to die, and I feel like the universe is going to give up on that. And speaking of dead things that are part of your body, the other Lutus twin, I forget his name, but he's the one who came over as well. He left behind, a lifetime of skin, dead skin, fingernails, hair. How come he doesn't have the powers too? Because he left behind a lot of things. Duncan, one of our mods, told me that it's maybe because she was not only touched by the edge of that quantum hole, but also the finger was still technically living when it came off her, when he just left behind things that had already died. Okay, we're talking magic. It's like a superhero discussion. We're using the universe's this plot, the writer's own logic that they decide what is logical in this world, to try to disprove or nitpick other logic, and that's just fun to do if you're a geek, and that's what I'm doing. It doesn't matter though. In the end, it was a great story. A lot of emotional development with the characters. Some surprises, I'll give it. Even though I was expecting them, I wasn't disappointed by the surprises. I don't know if I was completely 180'd, but maybe it was because I was expecting something. But I wasn't it wasn't for me. And this is I'm gonna wave at you when I'm done with my a spoiler for a movie that you might not have seen. You don't know. Fight Club. And I'm going to wave at you when I'm done. It wasn't a Tyler Durden moment for me, which when I saw it the first time was like, I was younger, so I was less like likely to expect a twist, and that was like, when Edward Norton dropped the bottle beside him and nobody took it on the street. That sort of thing that was my 180 moment in media, and that made me want to really get into film. Was just like, holy shit, you can do that. You can write something like that. All right. I'm going to let you guys come back now. So, anyways, I like twists, and I just don't like it when they're used as a crutch, and I don't feel like they did that. I don't think that it was a crutch here. Although, like I said on the show, I do worry that games or movies with twists will always take precedence in people's mind when being compared to other movies, stories, with really great, amazing stories, but didn't have one of those crazy, oh my god twists. It does worry me that a twist will always kind of edge that, even if they are on equal footing, and it makes me feel like writers would be just always worrying about making sure they put in a twist in order to be in the creme de la creme of unusual suspects and those types of the Sixth Sense type movies, and I don't think that's spoilers to say those two movie titles, because they're now kind of known popularly as twist movies. I mean, M. Night Shyamalan, right? Anyways, I think that I've said everything I have to say. I loved Bioshock Infinite. Not sure if it'll be game of the year. We have yet to play all the games of the year, but it was a great game, a great experience all the way through, and it really lives up to the Bioshock name and really opens up the franchise to new possibilities going forward. I look forward to what they do after this, what Levine gets up to after he's had his long vacation, I'm sure, but I'm sure the wheels are already ticking on the next thing. I'm going to try to get some more of these out eventually. I would like to talk about Far Cry 3, which is the polar opposite on story angle, what I feel about that, and Mass Effect 3. Also, sort of a one that requires a little bit of ranting, I suppose. And I've also seen Iron Man 3 on the weekend, so I'd like to talk about that sometime. I'd like to make more of these videos, is what I'm saying, so look out for them. And have a good spring. It's feeling like summer here, and that's why I'm just like wiping. I'm so pathetic, and I'm gonna go out and try to just enjoy a bit of the weather too on these days off. But we'll see on Thursday, and I'll announce soon what we're going to be shooting on then. I love you guys. Keep on playing the games. I love you. Bye.